We're tracking another developing story in Gaza involving Canadians stranded there. We're hearing that more may be allowed to escape the war zone through the Rafah border crossing into Egypt. CBC's Tom Perry has recently returned from Egypt, where he was covering this very story. So he joins us now from Ottawa. And Tom, really the big question is, what will this mean for them? How many Canadians with ties to this country could be potentially getting out of Gaza today?
Well, we saw the new list from the Palestinian Border Authority come out overnight. That's the list that comes out fairly regularly with who's approved to cross from Gaza through the Rafah crossing into Egypt. Now, today's list, the list for today, Sunday, has 135 Canadian names on it. So that's Canadian citizens, permanent residents, their dependents, their families, anyone with a connection to Canada. So 135 Canadian names on this list, along with people from countries like Australia, New Zealand, Mexico, others as well. Now, need to underline, this would be 135 would be the second largest group of Canadians that we've seen coming out of Gaza. We saw over 200 come out earlier this week, but 135 names on a list does not mean 135 people coming through the Rafah crossing. In fact, early indications are that it won't be that high, that not that many, not 135 will be coming through the border today. We'll have to wait and see at this point how many Canadians and citizens, permanent residents, all the rest get through the Rafah crossing. There are Canadian officials on the Egyptian side. There are buses waiting for people to bring them on that long journey back to Cairo, to the Canadian embassy, where they'll be processed, their visas issued, and they'll figure out where they're going next, whether that's Canada or onto some other country where they've got friends and family. But right now, still waiting to see how many of this latest group of 135 get through, how many of them make it to Cairo, and how many, as I say, get processed to be sent on their way, wherever that may be.
And waiting really is the key word here, Tom, as you witnessed also on the ground there in Egypt, to see, even as you mentioned, if your name is on the list doesn't mean you're necessarily getting through that border crossing today. But it has been 7 weeks now since the start of this war. And of course, the big question is, why is it taking so long to bring these Canadians and others with ties to this country home from Gaza?
Well, there's a war on, and other than that, I mean, look at that list that I keep talking about. That's the list put out by the Palestinian Border Authority. But the fact is, countries, so Canada, Australia, Mexico, whoever's got foreign nationals in Gaza, they put out their own list and they say, here's who we want to come out of Gaza. That list is gone over by Israeli officials. It's gone over by Egyptian officials. And then we come up with this final list of who has the opportunity to get out of Gaza. So that in itself is complicated. Keep in mind, I mean, the Rafah border crossing has been closed a number of times since it was reopened to foreign nationals. Communications in Gaza are not in great shape. They're in terrible shape, to be honest. And there's a war going on. So that makes it all very, very complicated. It stretches the process out. It's frustrating for Canadian officials, for other government officials, and especially for the Canadians and others who are still waiting in Gaza, waiting to find out when they are going to be able to cross at the Rafah crossing, get to Egypt, and finally get to safety.
The focus is on how many now out of this latest group will actually get to do that. Thank you so much, CBC's Tom Perry in Ottawa this morning.